You gotta do this.
Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody to the regular town board meeting for September 27th, 2021. I'd ask everybody to please turn on cell phones, electronic devices, and assisted listening devices are available for the hearing impaired. I'd like to also say that Rob Morial is excused tonight for personal reasons. I'll ask everybody to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we will start with the public hearing for Perry subdivision. Donna, what do you think?
Notice is hereby given that the Town Board of the Town of Lewiston will hold a public hearing on Monday, September 27th, 2021 at Town Hall, 1375 Ridge Road, Lewiston, New York at 6 p.m. concerning the application of Advanced Design Group on behalf of Mark and Deborah Perry seeking preliminary plot approval for a major subdivision on their property at 4639 Vroman Drive, Lewiston, New York. At the public hearing, all interested parties who wish to be heard will be heard. A full copy of the application is available for the review at the Town of Lewiston Building Inspector's Office during normal business hours by order of the Town Board.
Thank you very much. And Chris, you want to start, or do you want to go first? Or do you want to go after?
After who?
Well, we have three people that want to speak. Would you want to wait till afterwards, or do you want to start it off?
It's up to you guys. From all the public hearings that we do, I find it's much more efficient if we do a quick overview first and we answer some of the questions, because that may answer some of the concerns they have.
Okay.
So is that appropriate?
That's it. However you want to do it.
So what we, instead of using an easel, we brought PowerPoint. So this is Jared Johnson from my office. Jared is an engineer with us. And so he's going to put, Jared, can you raise it a little? There's, I'm sorry? So this is where it's going to be. If there's anybody that's interested in seeing it, maybe move to the other side just so you can see it.
It just needs to be focused.
And this is how you focus it.
It's right there. It's on this.
Whatever happened to the overhead projector?
Yeah, I know. So, funny story, when I did my internship when I was in college, I was in a basement doing like blue line prints, and I'm sure I was like high on ammonia for like a year or so. So, okay, so I think, can you get rid of, I don't know if it matters, but I was gonna say we can get rid of the border, but. So, if you can go to the next page, Jarrett. So, for the record, my name is Kristen Savard. I'm the owner and president of Advanced Design Group. We're here in Lewiston. We've been in business for 17 years. We do engineering surveying, some light construction work. And I'm here tonight with Jared Johnston, who is an engineer with my office, and Mark Perry, Dr. Mark Perry, who is the applicant representing him and his wife, Deb. So we have been through the process up to the point of tonight for preliminary plat approval. Our objective tonight was to have the public hearing, take in any feedback and comments that we get from the public, and if there is no significant comments or anything that to be addressed, we would hope to move on to preliminary plat approval so we could roll right into final plat. However, if there's comments or things that we need to address, we will do so, and hopefully turn this around in the next few weeks so that we can get to preliminary plat and then roll right into final plat. So quick overview of the project itself is that Dr. Perry and his wife Deb own the property. Their property and driveway has frontage on Vrooman, and then it also has frontage down on West Park. Can I move over here?
Yeah,
okay. Oh, actually, yeah. Can you do that? Okay, so Jared's going to move the pointer. So there's West Park Drive. It's currently a dead end. It's about 240 feet of road that dead ends, and we're proposing to extend that dead end about 400 feet into the subdivision to create 11 new single-family residential lots with a cul-de-sac. Dr. Perry and his wife live over off of Vrooman, and that house will remain. And because it's being called a 12-lot subdivision, one lot is the remaining land that will stay with that home. The other 11 lots are off of the proposed cul-de-sac. You can go to the next page. So this is the proposed project, is just the extension of West Park Drive up to a cul-de-sac with 11 lots on it. All the lots are conforming to the town zoning. We are proposing all public utilities, so it's public water, public sewer, public drainage. There'll be gas, electric, everything is a standard subdivision. The lots themselves, the first the first 6 lots are smaller lots that just meet the minimum building code. The rear lots are larger, and they would encompass the proposed detention pond. So what we're showing here is a detention pond that is New York State DEC Speedies compliant. That detention pond will be on private property. It will be owned and maintained by the homeowner or the homeowners association, but the concluding statement is that it will be privately maintained and not be the responsibility of the town. The project itself shows individual lots. Those are those rectangles on there that are 40 by 60 boxes, which are intended to represent the building footprint that could go in there. Obviously, the houses are going to be whatever the developer decides to put in there or the home builder decides to put in there, but that represents about what we would be looking at. So again, we are looking at 2,400 to 3,600 square foot homes. And the project we're proposing would ideally start construction either early spring or late spring. We were hoping to get in the ground this year, but with the cost of materials and everybody's really busy right now, we would probably put it off until the spring. So that's a quick overview. I don't want to take up too much of your time tonight, but we're here to answer any questions that you may have. Again, it's all conforming. We don't need any variances. We've done all the utility designs. We've submitted everything to the town engineer and gone through the entire town approval process to this point. We've been before the county. We've addressed all of the seeker comments and concerns, and we're just here to answer any questions that the public may have. So thank you, and I'll kind of step away until then.
Okay, great.
Any questions?
So first on the list is it Steve Aurora? Aurora. All right. 4665 West Park Drive. If you'd like to stand up and.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's my first time here, so if I do something funny, feel free to laugh. I live on the said dead end that was just mentioned, and for years I was told that I could not have a fence on my property because there's a little bit of drainage that runs like 15 feet. And with the new subdivision being built, I mean, it's going to be loss of privacy with all the woods gone and whatnot. Am I going to be able to build that fence now?
I do not know. Do you know what he's referring to, Tim?
You're probably referring to the easement that's on the north side of your
So
property.
there's drainage underneath, right?
Yeah, like there's water underneath it,
Right.
so that would be a Dan question, but our current and past practices, no fences on a water easement.
Right.
I do have a couple of additional questions though after that. There's a 20-foot public easement. What would that be used for? Just a walkway, or what would it be?
Well, I'm sorry, north of the
Yes.
the easement, yeah. The goal would be for the town, we have a bike path out there, the
Right.
Parkway bike path.
One that runs parallel to
Yes.
the park? Okay.
We would like to have a connection so the neighborhood could access that park, or excuse me, the bike path to go either north or south to Kiwanis or north to Fletcher. Because right now, if you live in the subdivision, you have to go out to 5th Street to get to either one, which is more dangerous for the kids.
Right.
This way you can access our bike path that exists and safely go north or south.
Follow-up question. With the easement, like you said, there's going to be a bike path. There's a fence listed on the plan on one side of the bike path, or easement only. Why not on both sides?
Well, as long as it's not, that would be the town.
Okay.
And the intention is down the road, once we do that path, to put up some type of either screening or fence.
On both sides?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That was my only concern.
Okay, thank you
All right.
very much.
Thank you.
Irene Rygaszewski, did I say that right?
Yes.
Oh, hey, how are you?
Hi, yeah, my name's Irene. We're at 627 Morgan, so we're the second to last house before West Park. And actually, I'm not really understanding the easement, exactly where is that going?
It already exists.
Oh, okay,
The
so the
exi-
easement is going to turn into a bike path?
No. The easement's there. It's actually gonna be north, just north of the, I
Can you
believe
point
north.
that out?
Yeah, north.
Right there. So that'll be property given to the town.
Oh, okay, I see. So
To-
it'll be an extension of the easement that actually already runs behind our properties?
No, I don't believe so.
Want me to explain it?
Yes, go ahead.
There's an existing storm.
Yeah, there's a
So
storm
here-
easement.
So,
This is gonna be outside of that.
quick summary is, before we started anything, there is a storm easement on the south side of our property line on the existing homeowners. So the gentleman that just spoke,
Mhm.
he has a storm easement on his property. There's also a storm easement back here that collects all the surface drainage.
Right?
The project we're proposing is we're calling it an easement, but at this point it's a fee parcel, it's not really an easement. It's gonna be a 20-foot right-of-way just north of that. And it's on our property, but after construction is completed, this will be deeded over to the town as part of the right-of-way, because there's an existing water line in here.
Okay,
That prior to us going out there, that water line was not in any easement or anything.
okay,
So we proposed to put an easement here for that water line, and then it became clear that it makes a great connection to the path. So that's why the town asked for it to be a fee parcel and not just an easement.
okay, so it's gonna connect to what's already on the scenic parkway?
Correct.
Okay.
But that's entirely up to the town at their time frame. But this is the time to make allowances for things for the future.
Right,
And that's why the supervisor and the highway, they all asked for this to be a fee parcel that is suitably sized and laid out so that should they decide to put that path in, they can do so
okay,
at some point in the future.
okay. Got it.
Is that correct?
Yes.
The couple of comments or questions that I had was, the homeowners at the very end of, Morgan already have drainage problems. So I know my neighbor, he's the last one on the street, and us,
Would that be Oliverio?
yes.
Okay.
So they always have water in their basement. You know, we dug some extra drainage trenches and stuff, but if it rains heavily, the water just pools between our two houses. So I'm just wondering how or if that situation would be improved with what's going on in the new development, or not impacted at all, or?
You want me to
Yep,
answer?
yes.
Okay. So this is good feedback. So what we're doing is we are showing rear yard drainage for our proposed project. And then we have an existing ditch that goes right here that we've surveyed, and this is where all of your drainage goes. We don't own, and our client doesn't own this property here. It sounds like you're down in here, right?
Right,
This is the project site, and that's
Right.
the project site. So our drainage is gonna go in this area, and this is kind of what we have control over. We are regrading it and lowering it. We cannot do work on this property. We also cannot do work on your property. But what I can tell you is that this existing ditch and everything through here, the town has asked us as part of our project while we're out there to clean it up and make it be a smooth transition and also have consistent grading.
Mhm.
So upon doing that, we are going to improve the flow within that ditch, probably dropping things a little bit, which should allow you to either put in some swales in your yard or to put in a yard drain and then outlet out into this ditch, because now it'll be lower and flowing better. That's what we'll be doing. But
Okay.
again, we can't go on other people's property.
right. I guess, another question that I had was about all the trees. So, right behind our properties there on Morgan, there's the drainage ditch, and then there's, I don't know how many feet it is, but it's a pretty nice deep, trove of trees that are
Mhm.
huge. And so I'm just wondering whether those are gonna stay, or are there plans to take those down?
So the project itself, when it's built, I'm sorry, can I answer that?
Absolutely.
So when it's built, so the process here is that this would be the preliminary plat, then we go to final plat. And then after final plat, before they can start construction, they do what's called PIP. And that's Public Improvement Permit. As part of the PIP, that's where the contractor is gonna disclose how much work that they're gonna have to do to build out the infrastructure in this road. So when contractors come in and build this,
you'll typically see that they're gonna build whatever's gonna be dedicated to the town, and they're gonna come back off of the right-of-way, a certain amount of feet for the easements and everything, and they're gonna clear a path. And if you went over to Oak Run, you'll see very similar to what I'm talking about. So as part of the town construction and the PIP and everything, we're gonna be clearing like this, and then we're also gonna be doing whatever work is necessary to build this rear yard drainage system. What happens inside of these lots is really dependent on what kind of home they put in and how the developers build it. I will tell you that typically in this area, because we're so flat and we have to put so much fill in, that they usually end up clearing all of this, because if they don't clear it, just the action of the construction vehicles driving on the roots of the trees and things, the trees end up dying. If there are significant trees that the person who buys this lot wants to save, they could. But the development of these individual lots outside of the PIP and everything really is up to the homeowner. There is no town code that requires us to maintain trees of a certain size or anything like that. We are required to put in street landscaping or things like that, but as far as preserving trees, there really isn't a tool to preserve those trees. So
I guess it would just sort of depend exactly where those property lines are then, and how.
And where the
Does the
trees
property
fall.
come all the way to the drainage ditch that runs there, or is there?
Yeah, the far side, like if you were standing in your property,
Yes.
and you were to look at your drainage ditch, the far side of that ditch, somewhere in that area is where the property line is. And we've staked out and flagged it, so I'm sure if you went out with a metal detector, you'd probably be able to see where those pins actually are.
Because there is an easement there
Mhm,
that
yes.
belongs to the town.
Yep.
So then right after that easement, that's,
The
so
north
all of
side
those
of
trees
that
are
easement.
actually on that property, on those properties.
On here?
Yes.
Yeah, there's some larger trees, yeah, back in there.
Yeah.
I think the goal would be to leave some of the bigger trees that are not in areas where we're doing any work.
Right.
But it's really hard to say because we don't own those properties. Once we sell the properties, the homeowners can do what they want.
Right. Just hopefully that first homeowner wants a little buffer too between all of our houses in their backyard waving at them. So, let me see if, this is, well, I have one more question actually about the estimated, increase of traffic. Obviously, construction, it's going to be at least a year going on. We already have like enormous potholes on our street that nobody seems concerned about filling.
There's actually been quite a bit of discussion about the timing of that, because what nobody wanted to do was to do the work to fill all of that post the water line construction, if this was coming right down the pipe. And
Well, I
because-
understand you don't want to resurface the whole road, but there are like potholes where kids are
Dave Train isn't
tripping.
here tonight, but his intention is, because they're not gonna be shoveling ground until possibly the spring, late spring.
Right.
Dave Train's intention is to pave, to at least, pave that road this fall. So that's his intention, especially Sandalwood and Morgan and the West Park. He's doing
I mean,
some-
I'd be happy with a pothole fill.
Well,
at
he
this
wanted,
point,
he
but-
wanted, I'm not saying this right, I think you know, what he's doing back there, he wanted to take the, what's it called, where
The millings?
no, the street, what's in the street?
Asphalt.
No, the, drainage,
Oh, the catch basin.
the catch basins,
Oh, okay.
they're, right now, I believe they're in the street, he wanted to take them out of the street. So he's actually started doing some work, have you worked with him at all, Bob?
I have not, but it sounds very similar to what he did on Fletcher this past summer.
Yeah, so he wants to take the catch basins out of the road and then pave it, and he wants to pave it before the snow flies. So, and that'll give 4 or 5 months to cure, before they would bring in any type of construction. Obviously, they're gonna start in 2 weeks, which isn't gonna happen, but if they were, he wouldn't wanna pave the road now.
Right, right.
So he does have an intention of paving the road.
Okay. Good, great, that's good news, thank you. I think that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Santo Frashone.
Hi, Santa Frashone, 630 Morgan Drive. I'm here tonight to express my hope that this development gets going soon. We've lived on Morgan Drive now for 48 years, and the thought of our 50 to 55-year-old homes now being graced by a development of brand new homes, number one, can only probably increase our property values, and number two, with the increased tax base, maybe some good things will happen with the money that these expensive homes will bring in to the tax base. I was going to address the potholes. I live right at the corner, and when kids go by on their bikes, they literally yell, "Watch out, pothole." So I think it's a danger. I walk almost every day. If I'm daydreaming, I'm always hesitant to maybe step into one of those. So, but again, I am in favor of it, and I look forward to the start.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, those are the only people that signed up ahead of time. I saw a couple of people who came in later. Hey, just do me a favor, just stand up and state your name, please, and your address.
Yes. Shirley Hunt, 623 Morgan Drive.
I'm sorry, what was the address?
Shirley Hunt, 623 Morgan Drive.
Okay,
May I come over to the screen
sure.
and ask my questions? First of all, is this the only way in and out of this? And is there any plan for another way in, another road, so that Morgan Drive doesn't become like a thoroughfare?
No, there's no intention of putting another access road into the subdivision.
Is there any other way in and out besides that?
No.
That's it. Because we're gonna have a lot of traffic in a neighborhood where most people move with little kids because it's safe and the kids are outside playing. We're now going to have, how many houses did you say? 11, probably 22 cars minimum, going up and down and up and down, in and out for work and everything. It's going to significantly change the tenor of our neighborhood. Now, I'm not against it, because it does, as Santos said, raise the value of our houses. But it's going to significantly change the tenor of the neighborhood. Also, I live here, I think this is 623. The house, is that black area the houses?
It would be the layout of the house, I think.
It's that's the buildable area, just to show the.
So what, is there anything stopping anybody from constructing a barn or whatever back here? Oops.
Tim, I guess that would be a Tim question.
You
What
know,
are they allowed to put on the
because
property?
There would be no restriction.
I'm thinking, what am I gonna be looking at?
Any allowed use in the R1 district would be allowed in that.
So I could be looking at a barn that comes right up to the easement, right?
Or an in-ground pool, yeah.
Or an in-ground pool.
Yeah.
Now, my easement, I just replaced the fence recently. I had to come in so many feet. My old fence was right up to that ditch. But in replacing it, I had to comply with the town and come in. Are they going to have the equal restrictions on the other side?
Only if there's an easement on their property.
Well, how do I know if there's any? Well, it's behind me, so it would be behind them as well, right?
Is there an easement on that piece of property, Kristen? No, then there would be no restriction.
They'll have to put if they put a fence up or buffer or whatever, it would have to comply with the town code as far as offset from a regular property line, because there is no easement on the south property line for them.
So we have an easement,
Yeah.
but they won't have an easement.
Correct.
Right, because the drainage is existing on your property. That easement is existing,
I got you.
and we don't need to create a new one. Now,
Up here, there's an easement, like up in here.
Right.
Those are new
Right.
and those are needed, but this easement.
So they can come right up to the ditch.
Yep.
with a fence or
With a
whatever, if
fence
they're
or
gonna put a
whatever.
structure, they have to comply with the town code for R1 zoning.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Dave DeFazio, I've got a question on the sewers and the water.
Hold on one second, Dave.
569 Oak Brook Drive, down on the corner.
Okay, go ahead.
And the reason I want to ask this question is because I know there's been some sewer backups on West Park and in that area. And I know they did a lot of work on hydrants, which is really nice. They did a great job on that. They did it pretty quick. But I'm thinking about the sewers. I'm sorry I was a little bit late coming in.
That's okay.
But did anybody talk about the sewers, sanitary sewer, storm sewer?
No.
Okay, so the question I have is when we get a lot of rain, and I'm fortunate I don't have to worry about that, but I know people that have had their basements flood with sewage because it doesn't have the capacity. I know the pipes are a little bit older. that they tend to get coded. Is there any provision, the first question is, where is the 11 houses going to discharge to from a sanitary sewer perspective? That's my first question.
Okay, so the sanitary sewer is a traditional town sanitary sewer, 8-inch line, comes down here and it will connect down in Morgan.
Okay, so it's going to connect to the existing Morgan sewer line, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to say that there may be an issue with that. And the reason I'm saying it is because there's already limited capacity in that area. And I'm not against this at all, believe me. If it can lower my taxes, it'd be extremely happy. I doubt that'll ever happen, but it'd be well appreciated. But the concern that I have, knowing what happens in that area, and we're fortunate in our area over on Oak Run, we got all the sewers and storms there, is that may become a problem. I just want to point it out to take a look at the piping size, age of the pipe. Does it really have the capacity to add that additional load? Because there's already an issue. I'm not sure if anybody's aware of it. You know, I know everybody knows about the road. Because I ride my bicycle too when I go down through there. I was actually going to take some pictures tonight for a little bit. So that's my question. You know, has there been a engineering study to determine the capacity of the sanitary sewer?
You want me to address that?
To make sure you don't have a problem down the road either, because if you sell these houses and they have an issue and sewage comes in their basement, there's liability to that.
Go ahead, Chris, go ahead.
So, very good question. So, when you have I grew up in Lewiston, my mom lives in the village and been here forever, so my mom's house backs up all the time. And when a house backs up, there's two factors that could be contributing, either the laterals having issues or the sewers having issues. We can't do anything about the laterals, that's obviously a homeowner issue, but when it comes to the sewers, you're absolutely correct that there are capacity questions. So in this region, when I say region, I mean Western New York, Niagara, Erie County, there's a program called II Mitigation, and it's the II Mitigation Downstream Sewer Capacity Analysis Program. We cannot get any department or health department or state approvals unless we study the sanitary sewer. Because they've identified that during wet weather events or for the first 24 to 48 hours after a rain event, the wastewater treatment plants and the sewers are inundated with groundwater because the sewers are breaching some of the groundwater and it's getting in there. So that probably leads to some of the stuff you're talking about. We've completed the downstream sewer capacity analysis, and there's a very set process to do that the DEC created and Erie County Department of Health. And that process involves metering the sewers, which we did for 3 months.
Erie County or Niagara County?
It's Erie County set the process up,
Okay.
and Niagara County adopted it.
Okay.
When I say adopted, it's not an official process. You know, a lot of times when I tell developers or designers or consultants about this, they say, well, where's the regulation? It's not a regulation because it's engineering. So the DEC and the Department of Health, correct me if I'm wrong in any part of this, Bob, they have a process that everybody has to follow. So that process involves three months of metering after a significant storm event. So we had the meters in the ground, we did all of that. Then you have to model and do a hydraulic model and a downstream sewer capacity analysis to confirm that between you and the treatment plant there is enough capacity. And then the town, we submit to the town the results of our study, and the town engineer and the town and the water and sewer department review it. They determine whether we need to do repairs. We have to do repairs because our community is under an II concern. So there has to be repairs. The question is, are those repairs to the sewer between us and the treatment plant, or are the repairs somewhere else in the town? So we have to do repairs at a ratio of 16 to 1. So we have to repair, and we have to take 16 times what we're putting into the sewer system. We have to do a repair that's going to take that much out of the sewer system in terms of groundwater and sewage. So those are all in the works, and we're working with the town on that, and that's a whole separate study that's completed and done. We've submitted it, and now we just need the town to work with us through this next couple months to figure out what repairs are we doing. And is it a repair, or does it translate to dollars and cents so that the town can go in and do the repairs? That's all what we're working through.
Okay, so that's in process.
It is in process, and it's an acknowledged, very real concern. that is mandated and managed by the DEC and the Health Department.
The modeling conditions, do you know what was used for the modeling condition? Like when we had 3 inches of rain or 2 inches of rain, I know there's conditions where you just can't, it's impossible to have.
So when we do the metering, so one of the things that we do in our company is we do a ton of sewer metering. So like right now we have 40 meters in the city of Buffalo in the ground metering the sewers in Buffalo. And the whole intent there is you want to look at, during dry weather, you want to look at what the flows are. And that establishes your pattern that's strictly sewage. Then you have a significant rain event, which the Erie County is defined as a half-inch rain within 24 hours, I think it's 24 hours. So you have to have a half an inch of rain within 24 hours. Once you have that, then you meter it for 72 hours to see what kind of increase you have going through the pipes, and that helps you identify whether you have issues or not. And then if you all of a sudden surcharge your pipes, now you know you have an issue upstream from you and you have to do repairs in that location. The repairs could be fixing laterals coming from people's houses. It could be sometimes, believe it or not, especially in subdivisions like this, people have their roof leaders connected, which is stormwater. It should not be connected to the sanitary sewer. Some people have their sump pumps connected. So this whole thing triggers an investigation as to what can be fixed to make the problem better.
So you're working on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The town has a whole list of repairs that need to be done, so they tell us what they want to have fixed, and that's all part of this process.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up the point that there is an issue there.
And
It
that
doesn't have
issue
to be
is-
a lot of rain, it could be just certain conditions where people have their basements and you build those houses and you don't have the capacity, or for whatever reason, if the pipe is old, who knows? But thank you.
Yeah, and the concerns that you raised are countywide between Niagara and Erie. It's a big deal. That's why your beach is closed in the South Towns, because the wastewater treatment plants can't keep up after storm events.
And then the raw, yeah, I get it.
So we're trying to prevent that. Every project we do has to go through this process. Every single one that has over 1,500 gallons.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Yep.
you, Mr. Fazio. Anybody else like to speak?
I just want to say one other thing.
Sure.
To Dr. Perry, I appreciate that you have left that beautiful woods for us. I've been there 40 years, and initially when you came in and built your home, you said you were planning to leave the woods, and you did. And I have so enjoyed having this endless woods and view in my backyard. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Yeah. Hey, Kristen, you got anything else to add?
No, if there's anything we can do to get to a preliminary plat approval tonight, that would be greatly appreciated, because we have some steps that are hinged on that.
Okay.
From financing to going out to bid, things like that. So the longer we leave this open, the greater the hardship is on Dr. Perry.
Okay.
And I know there's some easement questions. We're not opposed to working those out. We're not fighting them at all, but we are the town lots. I'd hate to hold up everything to resolve that, but we will. We have to.
Yeah. Well, the intention was to hear what we're pretty consistent with our public hearings, that we hear what everybody has to say, we take everything in concern, and we kind of wait. So it would be 2 weeks, that was the plan. We don't even have a resolution tonight.
Okay.
So we'd wait 2 weeks and make a decision on our work session. So it's not a month, it's just 2 weeks. So I'd like to stick with that plan.
Okay, we'll roll with that. The one thing I would ask is that if we could just make sure and go on record to say that there, at this point in time, are no issues or concerns or anything else to address. This is purely an administrative tabling, and we're gonna keep going and work towards final plat, because my submittal deadline for final plat is gonna be 1 week after you give me preliminary plat. I don't wanna hold off pulling stuff together
Okay.
until then.
Right.
So,
Okay?
Should you check with,
What?
you want to check with the building department, see if there are any other issues, or?
I don't think, I've talked to Tim extensively about
No,
it.
no.
he knows
about
how
this
to call me
project.
too.
Yes. And I think anybody here who has any questions, once you go home and sleep on it, I think Kristen's very accessible.
Yes.
Her office is right in the village, so advanced design. Irene?
Yeah, just one more quick question. How long do you anticipate the whole process taking?
Like the approval process?
No, the building process.
If we started in early April, we probably have the PIP, obviously it depends on the cost of the goods
the material costs are through the roof right now, and we got a lot of contractors. But once we actually put a shovel in the ground, I'm gonna say 2 months, I mean, at the most. Are they spec houses? No.
2 months to do the infrastructure.
Yeah, to do the infrastructure, and then the houses are just how often they sell. Now, Dr. Perry's, one son is gonna be moving in there, a couple of his friends are coming back to Lewiston, which is, I don't know if you know, but I'm like the biggest Western New York and Lewiston cheerleader ever. To have people come back to Western New York makes me so happy, but, so there's some people that are looking to come back into Lewiston and build houses there. And then the other interest in some of these properties are people that already live in that development, and they just want a new house, but they don't want to leave the development because they love where they are. So, I'm hoping that ideally for Perry's, everything would build up by the end of next year. But, I mean, that's really aggressive, but who knows? For the PIP, the road, drainage, sanitary, that stuff, 2 months. Does that sound about right to you? It's aggressive, you think it's only 400 feet.
It's aggressive. I hear you.
It's 400 feet.
I understand. Never had one complete on time.
So I was thinking a lot.
Well, back there.
They're all contractors are here, so busy next year, there's no way somebody's gonna be there sitting there for 2 months. Really? Alright.
We're not gonna let you go 24/7. I'll be 24/7 construction.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. So I ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Do I need to stick around?
No, there'll be no action taken tonight, so. I don't want to. Yeah, I know. Okay, thank you very much. Moving along, well, we gotta get by the agenda approval. And what we failed to do after the Pledge of Allegiance is our silent reflection, so what I'd like to ask is for a moment of silent reflection and to please keep Councilman Moriel's family in your prayers as they had a death in their family this past week, so. Thank you very much. Agenda approval, does anybody have any amendments to the agenda?
On the table, there is some resolutions that I'm gonna make, and I wanna make sure that number 5 is tabled, that we don't take any action.
Okay. Table. Also, under.
Just remove this time.
Under engineering, I wanted to add a townwide drainage study to talk. I just wanted to talk about it, townwide drainage. Anybody else?
I don't have any.
Like a little update on bicentennial too.
Okay, under your agenda. Al, anything from?
We've been talking about a fiscal policy, but we can bring that up in another meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. So, approval of the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resident statements. We have Paulette Glasgow signed up. Do you want to go before or after, Paulette?
It's imperative I do it now.
Okay.
First of all, excuse me,
You're wrapped around.
I'm wrapped around here. Thank you.
You guys do this to me all the time.
For women in the United States, breast cancer rates are higher than any other cancer except, can you guys see me?
We can hear you.
Other than, except for lung cancer. In 2021, breast cancer is most commonly diagnosed cancer among American women. It's estimated that 30% of newly diagnosed cancers will be breast cancer. Breast cancer is the second leading cause of death among women in the United States. 1 in 8 women, or about 13%, will develop invasive breast cancer over the course of their lifetime. Excuse me. In 2021, over 281,000 new cases of invasive breast cancer is expected to be diagnosed in women, and over 49,000 new cases of non-invasive case will be diagnosed in women. Globally, in 2021, breast cancer has become the most commonly diagnosed cancer, amounting to 12% of all new cases worldwide. About 85% of breast cancers happen in women with no family history. Breast cancer doesn't discriminate, doesn't care if you're young or old, doesn't care if you're rich or poor, doesn't care if you're Republican or Democrat, and it affects both men and women. In 2021, over 2,600 new cases of breast cancer were diagnosed in men, and over 460 men in 2021 will die of breast cancer. On average, every 2 minutes, someone somewhere is diagnosed with breast cancer. And every 13 minutes, someone somewhere will die of breast cancer. To date, there are over 33 million breast cancer survivors, and many of them, men and women, live here in Lewiston, with your constituents. Today, I am here to ask you to acknowledge the many Lewiston resident survivors and their families who have been touched by breast cancer by proclaiming October 1st through the 31st, as they do in many other municipalities throughout the United States, as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Now, I apologize to Madam Clerk. I apologize to the town board. That's why it was imperative that I do this now. I wrote a draft of a proclamation, and if I can approach the dais, I'll give you all a copy. Here we go.
If you can hold me, just give me a me.
That's just a draft, and I apologize, Don. I know this is your score, but this is important. It's important to me. It's important to a lot of residents in Lewiston, and I would hope it's important to you that we acknowledge the survivors, the victims, and their families who have been touched by breast cancer. I asked someone to put that on their agenda tonight. I know you've done your approval, but if you, Mr. Supervisor, could maybe amend and put that on there, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Paulette.
Steve, I'd be happy to put it in mine, but it would have to, if it's okay with our attorney.
I reviewed it, it's perfectly acceptable.
Move to accept the amendment to the agenda.
Second. Motion and second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Moving on. Is Tom Hardy here? So we have was he going to come?
Yep, he was supposed to come.
Okay. Okay. Well, we have a community power, community choice aggregation, community power presentation. It's a New York State program, but Mr. Hardy's not here, so we'll table it until next meeting. Department head statements. Donna, anything?
No.
Chief? Nothing. Tim?
I just got two things. If you could take care of the unpaid grass tonight, Everybody should have a copy of it. And then also, I just wanna make everyone aware, I talked to Jackie, I met with Jackie about the budget, talked to some of the councilmen about, my next year's budget. Sandy is gonna retire after 28 years with the town next August. And what I'm looking for in next year's budget, and I have it in the budget, is to hire somebody either in January or February to give her time to train that new person for zoning, planning, and building. So just so you're aware, I will not be at the October
Work session?
that night, whenever you're gonna go through everybody's budgets.
Okay.
I'll be away that day, which is why I'm bringing it up now, just if you have a question, I'm open, but if we don't get that new person trained, we're gonna be in a boatload of trouble.
So Tim and I have talked about this a few times, and I think since I've become supervisor in 16, we've tried to do this with every position if we can.
Mhm.
Obviously, you can't do it with every position, but you hate to let 20, how many years? 28 years walk out the door without leaving some of that memory here.
Yeah.
So I personally would be in favor of hiring that person, letting him train under Sandy for at least 2-3 days.
Can we do that tonight?
No, I don't think it's any action to take now. I think he's just putting us on.
But just so you know, when you do look at my budget for next year, because of the increased revenues, we've been so busy with permits this year, and we also adjusted our fees, so they're more in line right now. Even adding this person and having an overlap, my cost of our department will be less next year than this year. So.
But when Tim and I first had this discussion, I said, surely Sandy would be willing to come in on after she's retired to help out as much as she possibly can. And he told me not to hold my breath.
She's got big plans.
So thank you very much. Deputy Supervisor Conrad, anything?
No, I was just contacted, well, one thing, I was just contacted by Mr. Hardy, so I'm texting him right now to see if, because he was a little confused as to the village and the town, and so I'm thinking maybe he may be in the wrong spot, so I'm seeing if I can contact him.
Okay. Jeff, anything?
Nothing at this time.
Bob?
Nope.
Nothing. Dan, Zeno, anything?
Nope, nothing.
Do we have any type of idea, and I guess this is a Bob or a Dan question, when CSX is gonna have their flagmen? We're pushing October now. I was kinda.
He told us November at one stage, am I correct in saying that?
I think it was November. They also tried it for this past weekend with no go.
Really?
Yeah.
'Cause I know when they first said it was September.
Yeah.
Is the number it was what they said.
Yeah.
So.
Very, very difficult to coordinate.
Mike Dashinow?
On the agenda.
Okay, so I think that takes care of everybody. Approval of meeting minutes for August 23rd, 2021 town board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the September 13th work session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Audit payment, Councilman Jacoby?
I move to approve the regular abstract of claims number 21-02402 through 21-02546 and recommend payment in the amount of $252,923.31, plus a post audit of $12,460.70.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, under pending old business, Borrego Solar Systems. Would you like to address the board? I know you had some contact today with our engineer.
Yeah.
And explain some of the
Steve, you
concerns we
wanna
had.
go first or me?
Go ahead.
So after the public hearing last month at the, I guess it would be the September 13th work session, we had really one comment, I think, from the abutter to address, and that was a drainage issue at the rear, behind his property, but at the southwest corner of the subject site. And Dave, Highway Superintendent and Drainage Superintendent Dave Train spoke with us after the meeting about where the issue is, and we updated the plan. We submitted a updated site plan to have a culvert put in at the corner here, and that culvert would then discharge to an existing drainage swale that we're calling out on the latest plans to be maintained. Now, Dave indicated that drainage culvert might be put in by the town while they're doing some improvements to that driveway. I'm not quite sure who's doing what. But if that drainage pipe isn't there when Borrego shows up to build this, it will be put in. We call it out on the plans we put in and to coordinate with Highway Superintendent, Drainage Superintendent Dave Train. We also added a note to the cover sheet about Department of Ag and Markets compliance. And we also added a new general note 1 on the landscaping plan requiring the tree planting to occur at the start of construction per the town zoning code. Now, today I took a phone call from town engineer, Mr. Lannon, concerning about the landscaping and the desire for a berm along the south and a portion of the west side. That was brought up at the planning board public hearings, and while we're not totally opposed to it, we were discouraging of it because if you look at the grading plan, existing conditions, the contours generally run, the few contours there are run east and west, and it's naturally sheet flow drainage from south to north across the array. The drainage divide is about across the range line of the houses here at the front. So putting a berm in interrupts that sheet flow of drainage. It's nothing we can overcome if the berm is an absolute necessity. We were just discouraging it because we're trying to maintain, in accordance with Ag and Market guidelines, as much of the site's natural drainage flow as possible. So I would ask that if a berm is required, to make that a condition of approval and to limit, define the limits of where that berm you'd like that berm to be. We'll make it work to the best of our ability. If there's anything else that you think should be changed, we'd ask that be the condition of approval.
Yeah, no, here's the thing, the biggest concern from town residents when they speak is screening. I know some people don't want them at all, but the biggest concern is screening. And again, I kind of called you out at the last meeting for being woefully poor. So, I've spoken to the gentleman. This is our first solar farm that's going in where it's in people's backyards that don't own the solar farm, okay? So they're gonna have a solar farm in their backyard, and that's the biggest concern is the screening. And I think the town is gonna learn from mistakes in the past, and we're gonna require a 3-foot berm with the 10-foot trees, and that's what we wanna have in there. We wanna try and satisfy these homeowners as best we can, and I think it's fair, and I think we should incorporate that with a plan with your drainage, and if that's what you're able to do, I think our next meeting in 2 weeks is when you'll get that approved.
I'll just say one thing about that.
Okay.
And I think we talked about this at the planning board, and if you put the berm in, you decrease the likelihood those plants survive. It's just you're raising it up above where groundwater could be potentially, where the root system goes. And what I've seen on other projects I've done in the past, not working for a solar company, but just doing landscaping berms, the success rate of the plants goes down.
Yeah. We have a berm, there's a berm on Williams Road, right?
Yeah.
And how are those plants doing?
So far, so good.
I mean,
Even been there maybe a year, maybe?
Yeah, in the solar farm on Swan, those plants died with no berm. So,
Understood. Yeah. I think a lot of it has to do with the timing of the planting as well. Now, I think the plantings in Williams Road are doing very well because they were put in the late fall, early winter, and they seem to have taken very well. I believe they're all living yet. I was last out there this summer, and they look in very good condition.
mm-hmm.
I don't recall them being put in a berm. I know you asked for another berm, which was where we created the permanent topsoil storage berm to the, it'd be back towards the eastern boundary of the array, to the left of the driveway, is where the permanent berm wound up being.
The ones by the road are on about a 2 to 3 foot berm.
Okay.
The ones that run parallel with Williams.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I drive by there, and I'm happy with Williams. I'm very happy with Williams. Not so happy with Swan.
Understood.
But, I mean,
Understood.
Williams, you kinda had a natural, that's my concern with this. You don't have the natural boundary here that you have with Williams. Williams, to me, I know a lot of people were against it, to me, was like almost the perfect spot for a solar farm. I mean, the trees completely surrounding it. Here, we don't, right? I'm not happy, I've driven by your Lockport Road site. I'm not real happy with Lockport Road, but it's not my problem. That's the town of Wheatfield, but I look, you know what I mean? I can only look at what exists. So, to protect those neighbors, I mean, that's the way, and, I mean, anybody else chime in, John?
Yeah, well, I've spoken to the supervisor about it, and also spoken to some town residents, and Steve's completely correct. That's the main issue, the screening. And the thing that makes this peculiar is this solar project in the backyard of people who don't own it. So if I owned that project and looked out at the solar panels and knew I was getting X amount of dollars, it'd be pretty tolerable to look at. But if all they get is, you know, this mechanical monster in their backyard, it's a real hard sell. And I would say to Tim or to Bill, you both have been involved in construction. I think there's ways to plant trees in berms and have them survive. Am I wrong?
The one thing that you do want with a berm is that you don't want to have it too high, but you also don't want to have it too narrow.
Yes.
It needs to be broad so that you can get a drip line within the berm so that it does, you know, get natural water. Because I've done berms around hotels, things like that in the past, and, you know, we've had issues, but they were sharply tapered, very high, and they didn't survive. But it's being broad, so you have a drip line within the berm, and it should be fine.
That's what I thought, but I don't have the only expertise I have is planting arborvitaes in my yard, you know.
It's success and failure, so.
Yeah.
I guess we would have appreciated a little more heads up, so we could have been more prepared tonight, but I guess we'll go back and add that berm and figure out ways to maintain the natural drainage then.
Well, I appreciate it, because that is one thing that, like I said, it was a concern, and it's a concern of the town board, and, I mean, again, we're not against solar. I think we've proven we're not against solar, but we just wanna make sure it's done right, so.
And I was just saying, you know, it just is a tougher if you put a berm in, so we didn't propose it, but if you want it, I think we can put it in.
Good.
And it was talked about earlier, and we said, no, maybe we won't put it in, but we'll want to put it in
Good.
and find out how we can make it work.
And I think in 2 weeks, it'll probably have a lot of weight on the final approval, so, and like I said, we would just like to see it incorporated into a plan, correct, Bob?
Yep.
Incorporated into your plan.
Yep, absolutely.
Appropriate drainage.
Yes, yes. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Under pending old business, the small cell telecommunication facilities law, I think, Councilman Myers, you wanna update us on that? I know we're not gonna take any action, but.
Yeah, we were just, the last thing to discuss, the fees, and a lot of those, maximums are set by the FTC, and I think other towns have, more or less gone up to those maximum as their established, fee order, so, I think we'll get that all documented maybe for, next time we'll bring it up and approve it.
Yes. I think that was the plan, correct, Councilman, or, Attorney Banks?
Yes.
Former councilman? Okay, thank you. So no action on that. New business, residents, public correspondence, Donna?
No, nothing.
Nothing? Okay. Supervisor Broderick, liaison report, the water sewer levy. And I think after talking, pardon? No, not yet. I think after talking with, actually, Tom Seaman, I didn't go with you, I think we should table this. I talked to Jackie. I believe there's some laws that were enacted under the emergency order that we thought were lifted, that aren't lifted, where it won't allow us to levy our water and sewer. So I think for that, we're gonna take no action. Agreed, Jackie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'll discuss it with you too. Yeah. Anything legal, Al?
No, nothing that we haven't already discussed, that we can bring up at another meeting, nothing to be publicly discussed at this time.
Okay. Bob, engineering, anything?
Nope, all the projects we've got are at various stages of ongoing work right now.
The curbing down at the,
Curbing is in, it needs a little bit of, grouting, some of the butt joints, and there should be some sidewalk going as well, but that came along this.
Okay, so, I know Dave Tring's not here. I've talked to Dave, I've talked with you. I guess what we would ask, and I talked to some board members, we saw you did it recently for the town of Niagara, where you did a townwide drainage study.
Actually, just authorized to start that project.
Right.
Yeah, we did one a couple years back for the town of Wheatfield, townwide drainage study.
Okay, so I guess what we'll ask, I don't know if we need a motion for this, but just for you to come up with a proposal and a cost for a townwide drainage study for the town,
Sure.
and present it at our next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think a motion's
Okay.
necessary. He's gonna do it, I mean, he's already on contract with the town. He
Right.
Propose it. If you want to accept it, you can make a motion at that time.
Okay, thank you. Finance, the 2022 tentative budget.
Yes, the town clerk will present to you the 2022 tentative budget. I'd like to thank the board and all the department heads for a realistic and very cooperative budget. We will be holding the department head meeting on October 7th, a Thursday, from 9 in the morning till 4:30 here in the main meeting room.
Thank you. And I guess we could say the one adjustment that has to happen in the budget now is that water levy.
It will be adjusted for the preliminary budget.
I do need to read into the record the 2022 scheduled salary for the elected town officials. Highway superintendent is $74,448. The town clerk is $64,878. The supervisor is $43,583. The annual salary for the supervisor position is $43,583. The supervisor Broderick currently only accepts an annual salary of $35,000 with a salary waiver equal to $8,583. We have 2 town justices at $28,495 and 4 council members at $14,410.
Thank you, Donna. Okay, good. Jackie, with that?
Yep.
Okay, moving on to our 2020 fiscal stress score.
We just received our 2020 fiscal stress score from the New York State Comptroller's Office, and we are again at a 0.0. We have been at a 0.0 since 2017.
Which means?
We have no fiscal stress.
We have no fiscal stress.
And I wanna, when we took office, we were the most stressed town in Niagara County. And now, of course, it's 0, we're the least stressed, so, I think, and that's attributable to both, first with Marty Blazik and now with Jackie Ignell. I think it just keeps rolling along, so we appreciate that.
Thank you for everybody's contribution.
Yeah, good. And the 2021 budget revisions?
Earlier, you received requests for 3 2021 budget revisions in your board packet.
I talked to Jackie about these today and I move for approval as presented.
Okay, we have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Councilman Guyvan?
Liaison report. Well, as everyone knows, 2 weeks ago at our work session, we decided to send the Village of Lewiston a specific letter requesting that we have the ice rink back in Academy Park in its previous location or very close to that. And the village board met last week and they unanimously agreed to allow the town to pursue having a ice rink at Academy Park. And we thank them for that. And to that, Mike, our
Recreation Director needs some motions. His first one is he'd like to change the job title of Nicole Short from Recreation Leader to Clerk Typist, part-time, at a rate of $14.46 per hour.
43.
43.
Oh, I'm sorry, $14.43 per hour. Nicole will fill the vacant clerk typist position in the Recreation Office and work 15 to 19 hours per week. She's a good worker and learner and will provide excellent service to the community. That's a motion.
So we have a motion, we have a second.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions?
Mike, when would she start?
As soon as possible.
As soon as possible.
I just have one question. Is she gonna work for you?
I'm sorry?
Is she, your employee?
Yes.
Okay.
So I guess it would be effective on the 28th? I mean, which is tomorrow.
Yes, please.
Okay.
She's
So-
already a town employee, I'm not sure if she needs to fill out any different paperwork.
Okay, we'll make it effective on the 28th, amended. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carried.
And because we did not have the ice rink on our sites, we have to make some transfer of funds. Motion to transfer $20,000 from A.7310.0400.0000 recreation contractual to A0.0403.4403 ice rink contractual to be used to set up and the operation of the Lewiston Family Ice Rink. And that's a motion, and we've talked to Jackie about that. Jackie, do you want to make a comment?
I've examined the accounts and the available balances, and both of those can move forward if the board approves.
We have a motion, can I get a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
A motion to approve $15,000 from as printed, recreation seasonal help to as printed, ice rink personnel to be used to set up an operation of the Lewiston Family Ice Rink as well as its staffing. This motion.
Oh, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, and
Number 4 is what you want to table.
I want to see, right. No,
Okay.
I guess we have to table them both. Mike, do we table both of those?
Just number 4 would be where with the advertise for donations, that would be tabled.
Well, number 4 is soliciting sponsorships.
The sponsorship we can move forward with.
Okay. Move motion for the Recreation Department to immediately begin soliciting sponsorship for use as revenue for the Lewiston Family Ice Rink.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Al, is that okay?
That's okay because that's an advertisement, that's kind of similar to the NFTA selling advertisements on the side of their buses.
Okay.
There's been a decision already on that.
Okay.
The other things we've done research on and it would not be appropriate for the town to move forward with.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
And a motion to allow the Lewiston Recreation Department to advertise for positions of recreation aid for the use as gate guards and counter service workers for the 2021 Family Ice Rink at $12.50 to $13.50 per hour as per our schedule, with the understanding that after the first of the year, that will have to be adjusted.
So we have a motion. Can I get a second?
I have a question. Can you hire the skate guards for that money? I mean, are kids willing to be?
Find out.
It seems low to me. Well, I still, yeah, I'll still second it though.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Mike, for putting all that together, and it's going to be a task to coordinate everything, and hopefully it goes as smoothly as possible.
To give you guys a little bit of information what we're looking at too, if you want to peruse that.
Yeah.
We're going to start working immediately.
Thank you.
As per the attached.
So, Councilman Jacoby, what, go ahead. Oh, upstairs bicentennial.
The bicentennial has been meeting regularly. Rob and John are our delegates on that board. I'm the liaison. So far, we've had a couple fundraisers at the Art Festival, and this weekend we had one at the Lewiston Harvest and Hops Festival, and was successful. We're selling Chevettas tickets for October 6th. Drive-by here, tickets. 9th, October 9th, thank you. I got my two events backwards. October 9th, drive by here, pick up your dinner, go home to the comfort of your own facility and enjoy. We're selling the bicentennial coins. We're now on the second coin. They're $10 each. The first coin is quite impressive with the 200 on one side, and the other side is the Presbyterian Church. And the second one is the Frontier House. The third one, we believe, will be out in about a month or so, and that should be the red brick building, unless things change. We have not been told what the fourth and fifth are. We're also selling Lewiston stickers to put on your car or your bumper, and for $4 for the 200th anniversary of the town. We sold baskets that were donated by Glenn Winke, and they were quite well appreciated. We did very well, and the entire revenue for those was donated to the bicentennial. The bicentennial will be moving forward looking for sponsorships, so that will be coming soon, and hopefully we get a lot of individuals and businesses that were willing to sponsor, because we have a lot of activities tentatively planned for July 4th weekend 2022. And we're excited for it, and everything you do takes money, so we're trying to get everything in place. Anybody that wants to volunteer, feel free to contact Donna Garfinkel, and she'll get them on the list.
Can I also make a comment about the bicentennial? Yeah, I'm sure Rob and myself, we appreciate the heads up that, we're working for the fundraisers. That's nice of you to point it out. I think we'd be neglectful if we didn't point out Mrs. Maggart. She puts us to shame sometimes with the amount of work she puts in on this stuff. And
I'm not alone.
Well,
A lot of people do the same.
I know they do, but
She's our treasurer, so she's very important to us, and we're also very lucky that the village has agreed to be the fund bearer for the activity. So when we sell something and by check, it's Village of Lewiston, and then on the memo, it's bicentennial. And so far, it's working out very well. We're very pleased. And again, we have a meeting coming up this week, and we'll be moving along.
Yep.
Anybody wants Chevettas, call me. Call Donna from...
Or call me.
Or call John.
Okay. Are we done selling?
Yeah, we're done.
All weekend. Okay. Councilman Jacoby, your liaison report.
The liaison report, we haven't met with the Fire Bureau lately, but we have it, the date set aside, and we will be having a meeting, so I'll be able to come back with that. And, the historical preservation, we had a good meeting with the supervisor, right, Mrs. Maggart?
Yes, we did.
And found out some positive things about our budget, and it's all good, right?
I think that was wonderful.
Yeah.
Fastest meeting I've ever had.
So that's
I'll
my
give you some more, though.
that's my liaison report. Now I have a resolution. This is entitled "No Earmuff Congressional District for Western New York." Whereas because of the federal decennial census, New York State must redraw district lines for the United States House of Representatives, and whereas the New York State Independent Redistricting Commission is presently accepting public comment on the redrawing of congressional districts in New York State, and whereas since 2013, all residents of the town of Lewiston have lived in the 27th Congressional District, and whereas the town of Lewiston's placement within this district has been wholly and entirely proper, given that the town contains a mix of suburban and rural areas with many shared interests, and whereas from 2003 to 2012, the town of Lewiston was situated within the Earmuff District, which connected our town to metropolitan and suburban Rochester, nearly 80 miles to the east. And whereas the earmuff district stretched from the east side of Buffalo, north through the town and city of Tonawanda, north to Niagara Falls, through Niagara, Lewiston, and Porter, then east across the shores of Lake Ontario, through portions of 10 towns in Niagara, Orleans, and Monroe counties, including the city of Rochester and additional towns to that city's southeast. And whereas inclusion in the earmuff district clearly violated the generally accepted criteria for good government redistricting, particularly in terms of compactness and preservation of communities of interest. And whereas draft maps have recently circulated in various publications, which have suggested that solely for partisan political purposes, the state of New York should reestablish an earmuff district that would reunite the town of Lewiston, among other Niagara frontier localities, with the city of Rochester. And whereas it is incumbent upon this town board to make its voice heard on behalf of town residents as critical decision-making lies ahead in terms of congressional redistricting. Now therefore be it resolved that in the congressional redistricting process, the town of Lewiston does hereby discourage any effort to reestablish a so-called earmuff district connecting any portion of the Niagara frontier to the city of Rochester. And be it further resolved that this honorable body does hereby encourage decision-making authorities, including but not limited to the New York State Independent Redistricting Commission, the New York State Legislative Task Force on Demographic Research and Reapportionment, and or the New York State Legislature to reject all efforts to reestablish a so-called earmuff district, or any district which seeks to similarly connect the Buffalo and Rochester metropolitan areas. And be it finally resolved that certified copies of this resolution be sent to the New York State Independent Redistricting Commission, 250 Broadway, 22nd floor, New York, New York, 1007. The New York State Legislative Task Force on Demographic Research and Reapportionment, 250 Broadway, Suite 2100, New York, New York, 10007. It's also being sent to the Speaker of the New York State Assembly and the Majority Leader of the New York State Senate, and to the local offices of the representatives in Congress in New York's 26th and 27th congressional districts.
So we have a motion, can I get a second?
Second.
So with that being said, I want to just, before we vote, I just want to say this is a bipartisan document here. I've talked with Councilman Jacoby. This is just not, it's not good government for our community. We have a district now that is good government. It's contiguous of our community with other communities, and it makes no sense to be joined with Rochester. And as much as we love Rochester, just it's a different animal. So I wholeheartedly support this. So with that being said, if anybody else wants to say anything in regards to it,
I do want to say that, you know, these commissions, they reached out to local governments, and so we didn't pull this out of the air. This is something that I think we're morally obligated to do this. It's in defense of our own autonomy here.
yes, I agree.
Yeah.
So with that, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, John.
Okay.
John's gonna do the.
Yeah, the breast cancer one.
What is it? Oh, yes.
And Paulette, I appreciate you bringing this in. Whereas breast cancer is the second leading cause of death among women, and whereas 1 in 8 women, or over 280,000 women, will be diagnosed annually with breast cancer, and whereas over 40,000 women each year will die from breast cancer, and whereas over 2,600 men will annually be diagnosed with breast cancer, and whereas approximately 460 men annually will die from breast cancer, and whereas every 2 minutes someone will be diagnosed with breast cancer, and whereas every 13 minutes someone will die from breast cancer, and whereas the Town of Lewiston Town Board acknowledges the over 33 million breast cancer survivors, and whereas since many Lewiston residents and families have been affected and or afflicted by breast cancer, therefore be it resolved that the Town of Lewiston Town Board acknowledges all Lewiston residents and families affected and or afflicted by breast cancer by proclaiming October 1st through the 31st as Breast Cancer Awareness Month in the Town of Lewiston.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
That's it for mine, Steve.
Okay. Oh, yes, was that under mine?
What?
Somebody's gonna do that.
Yes, so,
You want me to do that?
for the planning board? Well, that's okay, I can do it. We'll put it under council memorial and I'll speak for.
Okay, good.
No. Yeah, we have an application for appointment to our planning board. I talked to Mr. Latanzio, and he's excited to join our planning board. Tim actually found him as a member. We've always been looking for another member for our planning board. Everybody can see his qualifications and background, so I'd like to make a motion to put Thomas Latanzio on our planning board as its newest member.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
We
And
did have,
also-
do you have the other thing?
yeah. So also, we are short of a chairman right now, so I'd like to make a motion to name Bill Berg, who is our planning board member already, as our new chairman of the planning board.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Don't forget this.
Can I
first
just-
study.
Yes.
So, the gentleman that you just, okay, whose term is he taking? Because he'll be given when
Well,
he'll
we have, it
expire.
can either be Deputy Supervisor Conrad's, or we have an opening.
Right, so which,
I would say the girls.
the one
girl
that was already
on
open
that
before
one-
he
one-
resigned?
The 1 month, yeah.
Okay,
I can't remember her name.
okay.
And
I'll
we
have to
still- we
look and
still
see
need
what
one
the
more.
expiration date is.
Okay. And we
Yeah,
still
and
need one more.
if we could encourage one of the local farmers,
Mm-hmm.
because our town code encourages the farmer to be on, we've had Helen Hasley for years, but we're really having a difficult time trying to encourage one of the local farmers to be on.
We have a new farmer out on Ridge Road. I'll reach out to him, Dr. Al,
Okay.
see if he'll be willing to get on that.
Okay, good. And then we also have, from Tim Masters, per the grass cutting law, I've had 23 parcels in the town cut, total fee for the cutting totals $3,830.75. There's also a $100 administration fee per parcel with a total of $2,300, totaling $6,138.75. Make a motion.
Well, all right, I'll second it in the discussion.
Go ahead.
Okay. This money goes on to their taxes.
Yes.
Do we have to include that in the motion?
Yes. Okay, so I'll amend the motion for grass cutting to be placed on their taxes.
Of those individual parcels?
Correct. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. So with that, resident statements. Go ahead, Paulette.
It's not attached to me. Oh, I lied. First of all, I want to thank you all for that. The other thing too is the Lewiston Senior Club, second Tuesday of every month has a program. And on October the 12th, we will be having, I hope, the director of the breast cancer imaging at Roswell, Dr. Marie Quinn, in commemoration of breast cancer awareness. That will be our program on October the 12th. Also, Irene Myers, who is a breast cancer survivor, will also be there with me and with Dr. Quinn. And this is very emotional for me, gentlemen, as you all know. And I thank you.
Thank you, Paulette.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, upcoming board commission meetings. The Environmental Commission is October 12th at 7 p.m. Town Board Work Session is on a Thursday, October 14th at 6 p.m. And that's in recognition of Monday, the 11th being a holiday.
Steve?
Pardon?
Mr. Supervisor? Mrs. Maggard?
The Historical Preservation Commission meeting is at 6 o'clock, right before the Environmental Commission. It's October the 12th, not the 19th.
Okay, October 12th.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Is that gonna be regular?
I hope so.
I hope so too.
Yeah. There was a lot of people that couldn't go on the 3rd.
Okay. The zoning board of appeals will be October 14th at 6:30 p.m. Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee will be October 20th at 7 p.m. And the planning board with its new member will be October 21st at 6:30 p.m. And with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
And to restate that we don't have a meeting on Monday during the Wednesday.
Yes.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thanks, everybody.